Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Amphibia, Season 2, Episodes 10 and onward. However many we decide to do, we're still going with that. Just getting to them when we get to them, as we get to them. And, yeah, just playing it by ear. It has been over 2 weeks since I have gotten to this series. Since I did my reaction episode 9. And part of that was because of, TrotCon and everything, and then coming back and being sick for a bit, and getting to other stuff that at the time was a little more important due to, I already had enough pre-recorded for Amphibia, so I wanted to focus on doing some other stuff and getting some other stuff done. But also, it's hard to follow up last episode. And it's something I've been thinking about for these, over 2 weeks now. That the last episode felt very much like almost like a mid-season finale. But it wasn't quite, kind of around the same, right, or around a right period of time. But it's like the big drop about Sprig and Polly's parents, or at least their mother, being gone. Which, we could have kind of assumed based on the fact that, they live with their grandfather and there's not really any talk or discussion about any other family for them. It's like just having that conversation, having him and Anne connecting on that level to such a heavily personal degree. It's like, what is with this current generation of animation and mother issues? Because this same kind of thing plays out in Owl House. Molly McGee doesn't have this going on, but Owl House, it's like Luce is away from her mother, and there's constant talk about that. And then you have when Ida's mother is introduced and she's trying to kind of avoid her and everything, and Luce and Lilith are shocked, and they bring in the idea that Ida's become a mother figure to Luce as well. And you have Amity's mother brought into things. It's like there's a lot of that going around in both Owl House and now this, and it's like, Jesus. I know that these shows, the creators are friends and everything, and that they support each other and everything, but Jesus, just stop, chill. But yeah, it's like it clearly got me very emotional last time, and coupled with the episode also making me simp heavily over Priscilla the Killer, it's just it's a damn good episode. And not even just for the jokes or whatnot, based on the fact that, yeah, I was simping pretty damn hard over Priscilla. It was really well written, really well paced. The characters, new and old, really shined in it. It just felt like a really strong, tightly written episode. One of the best in this series. And yes, the stuff that I enjoyed, that matters too. Enjoyability is a part of, at least for me, determining the quality of anything. And I think most people should kind of think that way too. You should let your enjoyability and your experiences with the series determine your enjoyment of the series, rather than just trying to be all technical on it all the time. Just watch a series to enjoy it, you know? Um, but yeah. Uh, Now we just kind of have to see where it goes from here. Because I don't think we're going to get, like, huge follow-up on that anytime soon. That's something that they're going to, like, pace out a bit. Um, so it's just a kind of a matter at this moment of where are we going to go next. We know that King Andreas is looking into the box and everything. Marcy is still around and all. There's a lot going on. We haven't seen Yunnan again. I'm hoping to see her at some point soon. We also have just a lot of little things being set up I can see from here. I still don't trust the king. I do not trust him at all. And there's definitely some setup in that. We have Sasha and Grime making their way towards the capital, towards Newtopia as well. And I don't know where this is going to end off. Like I've said before, I know a couple things here and there. I know some spoilers just because it was impossible to avoid on the internet. Including a couple major ones. I will acknowledge that. But I don't know, like, the context behind them. I don't know all the details. I just know of them, basically. Just because I've seen them while, like, scrolling through Twitter, and because everybody was talking about them. But yeah, I don't know the context behind them or anything, so I don't know how they occur, when exactly they occur, stuff like that. But yeah. So I don't know what to expect yet. I don't know exactly where we're going to go with this season. But we're about halfway through. There's like, what, 20 episodes? And we're coming into episode 10 here. So we're about halfway through. We've already gotten Marcy by this point. We've had Sasha make a return. But they're kind of staying separate at the moment. I assume by the end of the season they'll converge together. We have the king who cannot be trusted. And just other little setups with the characters, their backstories and motivations and whatnot. And some setups for a lot of things that are going to happen in the future. Now, I know this show goes pretty intense by the end. I do know that. I won't, like, tell you the exact spoilers I know. But I do know that things do get intense. And I know that this show goes really heavy in the end. I don't know, like, how comparatively you could say to, like, Owl House Season 2, but I do know it gets there, and I'm just wondering how we're going to lead into that. Because there's been some heavy stuff in this series. I mean, outside of just the emotional weight. Like, stuff we've had with, like, Anne and Sasha, and the setups for the future and everything. It's like there's some heavy stuff being hinted at, but I'm just wondering exactly what it's going to go for. But I'm very much enjoying the ride. I've definitely grown to really enjoy this series. Like I've said before, it's nowhere near on the level of something like the Owl House or even, I'd say, Ghost and Mile McGee. At this moment, I still would say I like both of those better. But Amphibia is definitely getting up there for me. It's definitely raising in quality. And it's becoming more consistently good, too. Not every episode has been great, though. There have been some weaker ones, such as the Sprig Gets Schooled, or whatever it's called. And there's going to be some weaker episodes every now and again. It's just going to happen. But the fact that it is getting more consistently high quality, in my opinion, mind you, that is something to praise and to be excited about. Because even Owl House had some lower episodes, especially in season one, mainly in season one. And a lot of shows that I adore have. MLP has had definitely some pretty poor episodes. One Piece has had some weaker episodes. The only series I think I have ever seen that I would say does not have a single bad episode is Carol and Tuesday. I believe I said that when I first finished the series, back when my reactions reached that point. And I still stand by that. I do not think Carol and Tuesday has a single bad episode in it. Which is why it's my second favorite series of all time. The only reason I put One Piece above it is because of the much longer period of time I've been into One Piece and how it means a lot more to me at this point. It's just a lot more important to my life and all at this point in time. So that's really the main reason I put it over Carol and Tuesday at this moment. But I do stand by that. But Carol and Tuesday is the only series I would say does not have a single bad episode. That I've seen, at least. But yeah, Amphibia, it's going to have more weaker episodes. It's just going to happen. It's going to have episodes that are going to be great as well. And it's just going to be up in the air. I don't expect this season or even season 3 to be like Owl House season 2. Owl House season 2 was kind of forced into being rushed, so they had to just kind of get to everything right away. And while they made it work exceptionally well, I can't imagine every show doing that, especially in terms of like giving us important, high quality content literally every episode of the season. Season 2 of Owl House is pretty much nonstop, especially the second half. And it's just like, I don't expect Amphibia to do the same in this season or the next. We're just going to kind of have to see where it goes. And hope for the best. But I actually do have faith in this series now. I actually do have faith that this is going to end well. And hell, all the fans of it, when it did end, like really praised its ending. I do know that. I don't know, again, all the context and everything that happened, but I do know that pretty much everyone loved how it ended, from what I've gathered. I at least I had never seen anyone having a negative view on the ending. It's just like everybody was so positive about it from what I saw. And again, the stuff I saw without spoilers or anything necessarily. Just general thoughts that people were posting everywhere. So that's a good sign, but again, I form my own thoughts, my own opinions, so we'll see. Either way, we're going to get this started, hope for the best, and again, we'll just kind of go as it leads us. I'll do as many episodes as I feel is right, and we'll end it off when I feel is the right time to do so. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode, or episodes. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I was expecting to do more than one episode today. I really was. Especially since we did episode 9 on its own. But this was just... I don't feel like I could have... This was the end to this part of the season. Like, we're leaving Newtopia. We're moving on, and we're still, I'm sure, going to see Marcy and the king and everything during the season. And things are going to progress, but we're going to for the time being, go back to Wartwood and get to see some of the other characters from there again. And yeah, just kind of return to the roots of the series. We had this big first half of the season that really progressed the plot a lot and introduced a lot of build up for the future. But now we're going to go back, and so I feel like stopping it here only after this one episode. It feels right. It feels right because it's the closing point to this half of the season. And so now we're going to move into the second half, and we're going to go back to Warwood, and I assume by the end of the season they're going to send for Anne and the planters and everything, and we'll get the follow-up on that. So yeah, we shall see how it goes down. But the question I'm kind of wondering is, when is Sasha and Grime going to invade Newtopia? Are they going to do it while Anne and the planters are back at Wartwood? Or is that going to come all together in the end? I'm genuinely curious about that. I guess we'll find out. I mean, not really much else to say with that. I guess we will find out. But yeah. So let us actually talk about what happened in this episode in both of the segments we got here. So, let me just get this up. We have the sleepover to end all sleepovers, our first segment here. And this is, it starts off pretty simple. Marcy wants to have a sleepover with Anne, Sprig, and Polly. And yeah, it's typical sleepover fare they're thinking about. Staying up all night, hanging out, playing games, and just dorking around, basically. Snacks, shenanigans, fucking with Lady Olivia, which is hilarious. And I still love when Olivia breaks up the montage just to beat the shit out of them and tell them off. I think that is fucking funny. It's just fucking funny. Not only the fact that she broke up the montage, that she stopped the montage, but the fact that her first instinct was literally to hit them. It's like they're annoying her so bad that she literally just belts them. Which, by the way, I do not condone that in terms of like real life situations or anything. Never hit kids. Never hit kids. I don't care what your reasoning is. I don't care if you think it's for discipline's sake. Never fucking hit a kid. It's absolutely fucking disgusting and terrible to do that. And it doesn't matter if they're your kids. It doesn't matter if you're a parent. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter. Just never hit a kid. It's just morally wrong on every level to do. Honestly, just try your best not to hit anyone, but especially never a kid. I really want to make that clear. I don't support that in this, but in terms of the comedic timing of it all, in terms of the humor of the characters and everything, it was funny. But in terms of real life, I do not condone, for any reason, hitting a kid. You can punish a kid without hitting them. You can punish a kid without causing them pain or anything like that. Hitting a kid is absolutely disgusting and wrong. So just, I wanted to make that clear. I wanted to hammer that in real quick. I'm not standing up for that in real life situations. I'm just saying, within the context of this series, within the context of the episode and the scene and everything, and the characters involved, it was funny. It was good comedic timing. It was well handled. It's not something that should ever be taken into reality. but for the series itself, it was fucking hilarious. That's all I'm saying. It's the same kind of thing as like if you see a baby character in like Looney Tunes or something, like involved in like some heavy slapstick. It's like obviously, like you're not going to ever put a baby in real danger like that in real life. It's funny because it's absurd and completely out of the question, and the scenario, the pacing, the comedic timing of it all is handled well to make it entertaining. It's entertainment, and it should be seen as such. So yeah, just want to make that clear though. But yeah, so they find out about this basement, and it's like, oh, we shouldn't go in there. But Anne and Marcy keep bringing up the fact that Sasha would, and that's a big part of this segment. The fact that they keep bringing up Sasha. Well, I mean, for one, obviously they want all three of them to be together again. But even beyond that, there's the factor in that Sasha was always kind of their leader. Which it's like is actually kind of surprising because a lot of shows, like if it has a main friend group, the main character is usually kind of seen as the leader, just by proxy. But here we see that no, that's very much not the case. Sasha was their leader. Sasha was the brave one. Sasha was the one who always came up with the ideas and the plans and the best games to play and the best truth or dare stuff or whatever. Sasha was always the one who was leading them. And based on their personalities, it's very obvious. Sasha's a leader. She is strong, she is brave, she is a leader type. Anne, as we know, is a very emotional, very empathetic person who connects with people easily, which Sasha doesn't do. And Marcy is extremely intelligent and thinks about things from a logical perspective. They all have these strengths that feed into their characters and their personalities in a really strong way. And I think I've talked about this before, but I want to bring it up again here because it's good character writing. Because they're not completely tied down to just those like single kind of character archetypes. They have more to them. But you also see that those archetypes are there and they are done well. And you see how just well written and handled they are in terms of their connection and relationship with each other. They work well off of each other and they balance each other out. They fill in the gaps that the others are missing. And so to see them constantly in this episode being talking about Sasha, oh, Sasha would do this for sure, or Sasha would know the right thing to do here, the right dare to make or whatever. It's like, yeah, Sasha would, because that's her strong suit. And I think that's where they were in the wrong here, and not the writers or anything. I think that this is actually a good thing to showcase that Anne and Marcy were wrong in this episode. And it's what got them into trouble, obviously, so it wasn't really painted as them being right. They were trying to emulate Sasha. And it never really touched on this, like, directly. Like, it never, like, outwardly said this. But I feel it was pretty clear that they were trying to emulate Sasha. That's why they kept bringing it up. Oh, Sasha would go down into the basement. Sasha would take a selfie by this coffin. So on and so forth. Sasha would continue on through this door that says keep out in the first place. It's like, yeah, Sasha probably would. But you also have to think about it this way. You understand that it's very clear that they understood that that wasn't the right move. And you know that if all three of them were together in that moment, they would balance that out to make it so that even though Sasha would want to do that, they probably wouldn't have. Or at the very least, there would be discussion about it. Logical discussion, thanks to Marcy, and emotional discussion, thanks to Anne. It would come from a place of more honesty, and I feel like it would be a lot more controlled than it was here. Because here you just have two girls who are missing their other friend, and because of it are trying to act like her in order to kind of channel the spirit of Sasha to make themselves feel better. And it's sad, but it also shows how close this friend group is. And it adds contextualization to the fight at the end of season 1, Sasha and Anne. It shows how important that was, more so than it did in the first season. Like, we obviously knew at that point it was important. We obviously understood the emotional depth of it, and like, it was emotional as hell when Sasha realized it herself and was willing to sacrifice her life to make up for it to Anne. And although she's gone into kind of this trauma-based revenge fantasy at this point, we know she's hurting. Because we understand how close these three are. And it's very clear that that's going to come back. That their relationship, their connection to each other is extremely important to where this series is going to go. And that the fact that they are so close is going to be a factor in the future of this. And especially in showcasing that they will get back together and they will be best friends again, and that Sasha's vengeance will dissipate. She's angry, she's upset. It's because of trauma. It was a traumatic experience. I mean, she almost died. And we see here that Anne and Marcy, and especially Anne, because of Anne already having had contact with Sasha, they just want her back. That's all they care about. And so they're willing to emulate her here, just to have some semblance of that. It's really sad, but also really happy, because it showcases their bond, and I think that's really special. And that's nothing to mention of the horror elements of this segment either. As I've talked about plenty of times, you guys know I love horror elements in a show that is not inherently horror based. When a series that is not really horror focused can take on those elements and do them extremely well, it always impresses me and is always my bread and butter. It's like, that is the kind of shit I love to see. You see it in Powerpuff Girls, you see it in Samurai Jack, you see it in all kinds of shows. And I think it was done extremely well here. I think that showcasing these horror elements in the way they did was handled well. And it's not the first time Amphibia's even delved into this. I mean, you guys know, like, my favorite episodes in season 1. I made that list, and you guys know the kind of episodes that were up there for me. Those horror-themed episodes. So it's like, yeah, this is definitely my kind of shit. And these gelatinous spirit things that dissolve whatever is inside of them, that's genuinely terrifying. You literally see the bones of a frog within one of them. It's like, oh yeah, that's fucking death. That's horrifying. It's probably not like super slow either. It's probably something that's going to be that's going to happen pretty quickly and pretty painfully. Um, and it's probably not easy to get out if you get stuck in one of them. But yeah, it's like that's genuinely horrifying. And the fact that they're incorporeal most of the time, also horrifying. Um, I also love the idea of the mirrors being a way to stop them, because as I said in the reaction, mirrors are a genuine huge thing with mythologies and superstitions and ghost stories and all. Mirrors are actually really huge in that kind of aspect. And so I love how they use them here. The fact that all the mirrors, this was very easily a thing you could see down there. There are all the mirrors down in the basement. And then you see also that what the mirrors actually do by the end. And it's like, okay, yeah, this was well handled. Now, the big question obviously is, what the fuck are they doing down there? Why is there a tomb with these gelatinous spiritual death monsters in the basement of the Utopian castle? And that on top of, what King Andreas was like saying at the end of Day at the Aquarium, which I'll talk about. Yeah, my trust in him has just nosedived. Like, I already didn't trust him. I already thought he was suspicious as fuck. Granted, it kind of told us that, because his introduction was a very suspicious moment before it actually properly showcased him. But then you have something like this, and it's like, the fuck? You're going to try and you're going to showcase that in the basement of the castle there's something this horrifying, this fucking evil, and you're not going to like expect us to be suspicious as hell of the king? It's like, no, fuck that. It's like, I'm not just suspicious of him anymore. I am convinced he is the bad guy. I don't know what his goal and motivations are. I don't know, like, I don't know if he's going to be the main villain. But he's definitely, at least for now, the bad guy. And, I mean, it's pretty damn fucking obvious. I don't think anyone will miss that, but still, it's just, at this point, I can't see it any other way. So let's talk about A Day at the Aquarium. So, in this episode, we find out a little more about the music box. We find out from Andreas that the gems on the box, the reason that they turn gray is that they have to be recharged. Apparently they hold like a magical charge or something, and they were out. That's why they turn gray. So, in order for Anne and Marcy to return home, the gems have to be charged, and the box apparently was used for interdimensional travel by, according to King Andreas, peaceful travelers. And it's like, fuck that. I do not trust that for a second. It was invaders. Like, they were using it to invade other realms, weren't they? I don't trust this for a fucking second. Also, I don't think Andreas needed that time to discover what the box did. I think he knows. I think he knows full fucking well what the box is, down to the last detail, and he's just making excuses and using that time to make plans and to scheme and be evil, and I don't... Anywho, the planters have to head back to Wartwood, though, because of the harvest coming up. And so there's kind of, in this episode, the entire debate on whether Anne will go with them. Marcy Marcy kind of convinces Anne that she should stay with her because, they just got each other back. And it just makes the most sense for them to remain together, considering their goal. But Anne, of course, doesn't want to leave the planters. They have become her family here. And so she doesn't want to just leave them like that. But she does agree to Marcy's idea and acknowledges that it makes sense. And so they decide that she's going to have one last day to hang out and have fun with the planters beforehand. So they go to the aquarium, and just everything there starts reminding them of some of their adventures. And most of that's fine because it's like, oh yeah, they've come across plenty of sea creatures. The only thing I was questioning was the coral that just happened to be shaped like a lot of the stuff that they came across, including like those cannibalistic toads. And it's like, I'm sorry, but no. I can excuse like seeing some of the same creatures in this aquarium that they've come across and fought along the way during this series, but having coral just randomly be in the shapes of a lot of the other like sentient characters and other creatures they've fought and stuff, it's like, okay, maybe one or two of those, but having that many and to be that directly obvious, I guess you could say, it's just it breaks the suspension of disbelief. It's like there's a certain point where it's just like it's going too far. It goes from being funny and just interesting to being just kind of not believable, like literally not believable. There was nothing that could convince me that would make sense, that would be there like that those coral would just happen to be in those very, very specific shapes, to be that recognizable, and it would just happen to be at the aquarium where they happen to go. I'm sorry, but no, that's not even slightly believable for a second. And it did kind of take me out of the immersion of the episode a little bit. But yeah, they end up going to a stingray show, it's like a dolphin show or a seal show if you've gone to like SeaWorld or something, an orca show. It's that kind of thing. They go there, and Sprig is chosen from the audience to feed what he thinks at first are the stingrays, but ends up actually being this giant sea snake. And he freaks out, but it's like, oh, the sea snake's actually a sweetheart. It's very spooked easily. It's the stingrays you actually have to worry about. And so Sprig ends up getting trapped, and they have to save him from the stingrays, and it's this whole thing. It's a typical Amphibia monster animal plot. And I think that's the point, mind you. Like, I think that was the idea, because it was, supposed to be reminding them of the different adventures they've had. So having this be a very typical, very standard Amphibia monster animal plot is like, oh yeah, that makes sense to have that here. Even if it's just a taste of one within the context of this episode. It works because there's meaning to it within the actual episode itself, within the script. But after it all ends and all's done, the planters are heading home, and Anne is going to stay. And at first, it seems like Marcy's just going to let it happen. There's kind of this will she, won't she let Anne go back with the planters. And it's like, at first, it actually makes you think, oh, like, no, it's actually going to happen, because they head out. And Anne is there, Marcy's waving goodbye to them and everything. And it's like, it's actually legitimately rolling with it. And it's only at the very last moment that Marcy finally says, it's like, oh, wait, go to them. Follow your heart and everything. It's like, it takes it to the very last moment. And it's like, they really held off with that. And I kind of appreciate that they didn't just do it right away. That Marcy actually, you could say, struggled between, the naturally logical side of her brain and the emotional side. And the fact that she chose emotion over logic is actually kind of a big deal for her character. Because we've seen that, yeah, she has emotion, of course, but again, she's a very logical thinker. She's hyper intelligent and whatnot, and it's how she thinks. So yeah, it was a really good moment for her. And I like that they waited until the last moment, kind of painting that Marcy was struggling with what to do. But yeah, she says, okay, we'll just pick you up when it's ready, when we're good, and it's like all will be good. We'll be reunited and everything. So Anne heads out with the planners, and we have the last scene with Andreas coming up and about to offer something to Marcy. We don't get any context for it, but we kind of have that little bit of little bit of something there, Now, this ends off our time in Newtopia, at least for the time being. Which, as I said, is the reason why I decided to cut it at this point instead of continuing on. I felt it just felt like the right point. And so, like I said earlier, I don't know where this is going to go at this moment. I mean, obviously we're going back to Wartwood, but are we just going to go back into some random slice of life stuff until later on? Or what? I don't know. Now, another question you guys might be thinking about is, will I be taking a break from this series in order to avoid burnout and stuff? As you guys know, I do this with a lot of shows because I don't want to, like I said, get burnt out on them and end up either disliking them or dropping them because I'm just not enjoying reacting to them anymore. So I'll take a break like halfway through a season and then come back to it later after I've had some time to kind of refresh. And so the question, will I be doing this for Amphibia Season 2 here? Because I did take a break with Season 1, I believe. And I'm going to say for at least right now, the answer is no. I'm not even starting to feel a slight bit of burnout for this series right now. In fact, I'm at the point, like, I'm still at the point where I'm really hyped over this series, which, as I've talked about in previous reactions, is still really funny to think about considering I dropped this initially. But I'm at the point where I'm still really hyped for this, and I'm not really even reaching a somewhat close point to being burnt out. Now, that could change at any time. And if at any point prior to the finale I do have to take a break, I will. But that's only if that occurs. If I ever feel like I could be starting to get a little burnt out on this. Because as I've stated in the past and everything, whether in the exact words or not, I will always put my mental health and all of that before the reactions. If I need to take a week off, if I need to put things on hold, if I need to do whatever, that will always come first. I truly believe every creator on YouTube and beyond should do that. They should always put their mental and emotional health ahead of their content. I think it's just the right thing to do. So, hopefully we never get to that point with this season. Hopefully we can just go straight through to the end. That would be preferable. I mean, that's always preferable, of course. And as for right now, like I said, we are going to continue. We're not taking a break at the moment. But if we need to at any point, we can. But I'm definitely sold into this series at this point, obviously. We're definitely invested in it for the long run. We are going all the way through to the end. Like this, it would have to take some massive drop of quality to like a astronomical degree to stop that at this point. And it would have to be like really bad. Like Star Versus or Steven Universe levels of bad. When those shows kind of dropped off the face of the earth in the end because they, became terrible at the end. It would have to be like that kind of bad. And I don't see that happening. Again, even if there are some episodes that are weaker, I don't see the actual series dropping off that bad. So we should be in it for the long haul. All of that is good. And as for this season, like I said, we're not taking a break as of now, but who knows where we'll be at for the next recording and everything. We'll see. In the meantime, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of episode 10 of Amphibia Season 2? And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.